All right, guys, real poker talk here with the man, Phil Galfond. And now, if you guys ever been out there, you've been saying to yourself, how am I ever going to recover from this downswing? Am I ever going to win at poker again? How do these people run so good against me? They play so bad. How can they possibly be winning? What's wrong? What's wrong with my game? What's going on? Now, I started doing these real poker talk videos, and I've got so many messages from people saying, how do I get out of the downswings? How do you escape downswings? How do you deal with it mentally? And now me and Phil Galfond, we've dealt with many downswings over the years. It's been a tumultuous ride of a roller coaster of poker career for both of us. And a lot of highs, of course, and some lows, but a lot of highs. And I brought in Phil today for a real poker talk video, and we're going to talk about downswings, dealing with downswings, how to escape them, how to mentally sort of process it. And we're just going to talk a little more about it. And but yeah, Phil, thanks for joining me here. We just got done recording some Pop Omaha videos, and we wanted to do one real poker talk videos. And kind of, when you think about the idea of downswings, if someone says, Phil, what's your advice? What's your advice for escaping that downswing? What would kind of be one of the first things that comes to mind for you?
I think everybody's different. And I think it's important to learn what works for you, what gets you kind of out of the mental state that it has you in. But I think something that's really important to think about, people associate tilt with like really loose aggressive play and just like spewing your chips in. And sometimes, especially like when you're on a downswing, you can tilt in a way that you just miss all the spots you usually take. And like you continue your downswing because you're like, okay, well, I have whatever. It's kings. I get in kings. Oh, I ran into aces. Or like, I got in a set against a flush draw and I lost. But you're forgetting about all the hands in between where you didn't make that bluff or you didn't make that light call because you're just like on autopilot waiting to get out of the downswing and afraid to make the moves that you normally make.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that seems defensible though, because I feel like when you're in a downswing, obviously we talk about this, the confidence is shaken. Yeah. You're not sure about your plays. You're not sure if what you're doing is the right or what you're doing is wrong. And it makes sense that you might be a little hesitant to take these spots because you start questioning your own process and questioning your own approach to it and questioning what you know or what you don't know, and all these sort of things get in your mind. And I think kind of one important thing to get into before we start here is that there's a difference between a losing player and being on a downswing. Now, if you have won a couple winning sessions and then you're losing most of the time and you're down money as a poker player, you're not on a downswing, you're a losing poker player. And now, if you're a winning poker player with years of results or a year of results or the actual receipts, a sample to base this off of, then you're probably on a downswing. You're probably not a losing player. But I got to start with that. If you're out there and you're saying, this is me, I'm on a downswing, I feel like this, it could be because you're a losing player. And in that case, you just need to work harder at your game. You need to study more. You need to talk with more poker friends and kind of get out there and really work on your game.
Yeah, it's tough because at one point, on one side, we're telling them, don't lose your confidence. But on the other side, we're saying, well, make sure that you're a winning player.
This is what makes poker hard. Yeah,
but it is really tough.
Yeah, exactly.
And a way that you can accomplish that is, on a downswing, whatever it is that you do to some people study a lot more on a downswing, which is kind of a nice
What about
side.
you? What do you like to do when you're on a downswing?
Honestly,
I know you don't lose. You've been winning 25 million years straight. But what would you do on a downswing? What's kind of your approach to things?
For me, on a downswing, I usually just take a little break. I just don't play for a couple of days. For me, it really mentally resets me, and I can pretty quickly go from being kind of depressed about poker to just totally fine. And it just takes a little bit of a break. The other thing that happens to you, not only do you question your plays, but I think we've all felt like, you check raise the flop with top set on a draw heavy board, and you just know, it's coming for sure. If you ever feel that way, you're like, I know that it's coming. Then
that's not good mental state to be in.
It's not.
That's bad.
Because it will, even if you don't realize how it affects your play, it will affect your play. But if you're not sure whether you're on a downswing or you're actually losing in the games, play a little smaller, play fewer tables,
right?
And get your confidence back up, while also making sure that if you are losing in those games, maybe you get into some games you can win at, or you lose slower until you learn enough to be a winning player.
Yeah, I definitely agree with those. I think for me, I've had a couple approaches in the past. My initial approach to getting out, I never used the term downswing. I didn't start using the term downswing until I started coaching people, and then they used the word downswing. I was like, what do you mean you're losing? Yeah. And that's like downswing. You feel downswing just sounds negative. Like downswing, it just sounds like it
implies momentum. It implies that you're like going to keep going.
Yeah. It just doesn't. It's not a good word. I never use that word. I lost. I'm losing. But for me in the past, it was just play through it. I'm making it through it. Bad approach, I think, in retrospect, but it did kind of teach me some things at that. Now what I kind of like to do is, and what I kind of adjusted over the years, is dropping down stakes, I think is a great one. Dropping down tables is a great one. Taking a break and kind of resetting those bad fundamentals. Because I feel like when you're on a downswing, you're probably too loose pre-flop, you might be over c-betting, you're over calling c-bets yourself. So I feel like kind of resetting those fundamentals has been good for me. Take a break, you know, kind of get that voodoo out of my mind about, oh my God, I know this guy's gonna make the flush, you know, that sort of feeling, because that's a feeling we've all had, we've all been there, and it's a terrible feeling. There's no other way around it. But I think you mentioned a couple good things too, which is that adjusting the game, I think, is something you can really implement today. If you're on a downswing right now, this is something you can implement today, and it's just pay more attention to the seat you're in, pay more attention to the game you're in. I think those things are some things that people don't really think about as much, and they just go sit in a game. They go, all right, this game looks soft, let me try to make it back. What they might realize is that they got one player, Fred, to their left, they got Randy the Rock to their right, they got Coach over there who's got his jacket on and only plays aces and kings over there, and they're just putting themselves in a bad situation. And then they end up, they're I'm trying to beat up Randy the Rock to my right, but he's really not making that many mistakes. And now you're saying, well, what's going on with my game? I'm losing this guy right here, like what's happening? And if you just switch around a couple different variables in that situation, that might turn you into a winning player, where all of a sudden it's that simple. Like that's the thing, it's that simple of being winning or being losing in a game.
I think you bring up a really good point, and it's a perfect example of it. But you could do it in a lot of ways. Basically, similar to dropping down in stakes or playing fewer tables. Just put yourself in a situation where your win rate's going to be a little bit higher during that time than it otherwise would be. I think a lot of people don't realize, like when you make the decision between, oh, should I play like 1-2 where I think my win rate is this, or should I play 2-4 or 2-5 where I think my win rate is like half that, or like 60% of that, but I can make more per hour. When you lower your win rate, when you add tables and lower your win rate, you increase your variance a ton. Win rate compared to your standard deviation. So like you're going to go on way more downswings if you're just like reducing your win rate by a little bit. So while you could theoretically make more playing twice as many tables with 60% of the win rate, you're going to go on more downswings. And if you play poorly on a downswing, then you're actually not going to make more because you're going to be in that bad mindset more often.
Right. I mean, that's a great point. Something I never quite did in my poker career. I was like, load up 24. I mean, you do, yeah. I'm like, load up the max tables, baby. Let's make this money back. Let's get out of this kind of thing. And I think one big thing that I've noticed in the poker world that is different than when I started learning, when you started learning, is that people don't talk to each other as much anymore. It's so segregated. People are, they have like, I meet a lot of people that don't have any poker friends. And by the way, if you want poker friends, comment this video right now and say I'm looking for some friends, and let's make you guys meet some people out there, because I've met a lot of people who are like that. But talking with your friends, getting reassurance from your friends that your mindset and the way that you're thinking about the hands, your thought process is correct, is strong. And I was telling Phil the story before we started. I was telling Sasha the story as well too. When I was living in Vancouver, and I was living with a couple of different people. I was playing Pop Omaha 24 table and trying to win my Supernova Elite prop bet. And man, my confidence was in the gutter. It really was. I was losing. I'm running bad. I'm 24 tabling. As Phil said, not a very good idea when you're in a downswing and when you're playing Pop Omaha to begin with. Yeah. But yeah, I just I got together with a friend. He kind of gave me some feedback. He's like, dude, you're fine. Like your thought process is good. It's just, and that made me feel so much. And maybe
better. You started making some of the calls that make you good, making some of the bluffs that make you good. Just having the confidence that you need.
Yeah, man, that was like, I might have been life changing for me, just like having that moment of that conversation, that sweat session. And I think that right now people, they just aren't really, so they can't even really explain their thought process because they don't talk about poker ever. It's just they talk about it in their head, they talk about it in words or on typing, but they don't really express themselves enough to really understand, okay, am I thinking about this right? Maybe I don't have a fucking clue or anything like that. And I think that comes from your friends. I mean, you kind of talk about when you started off, you had a group of friends, you had a group of guys, and you guys all were deep into getting better together.
Yeah, there's no substitute too, like for an interactive conversation. My first summer in Las Vegas in a house with a bunch of guys, that's when my game just skyrocketed because it's just just talking about hands. Showing people things. Like there are so many things you do in your game that nobody's ever seen. So even if you have friends online, you send them this really interesting hand, but they haven't seen what you fold the small blind with, ever. And there are like little leaks that nobody will ever see if you don't show them. And like have like review a session with somebody.
That's a really great point. That's a really great point. It's kind of something I didn't necessarily think about also is that when they get an entire scope of your game, when a friend does, or when someone that you respect does, whether it's a coach or something like that, they're able to kind of see things and point, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, like maybe you know it, maybe you don't know it, and maybe it's something new for you.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Right,
like it happens
exactly.
A lot.
But that you can't get that from a hand history or anything like that too. That's a really good point. And that's something I used to have. We used to sit around, like we all had there was like a little small apartment in Chicago. We'd all, like I'd be playing 10 cent, 25 cent. Another buddy's playing sit and goes. This guy's playing 25 cent, 50 cent. He's playing 25 cent, 50 cent. And I'm trying to take their money for sure. Don't be fooled out there, guys. But if not, we play a hand and we talk it over. We kind of and that expedited our growth so bad. And I think that's a great way to kind of escape that downswing mentality is help regain confidence, help get affirmed that what you're doing is proper and what you're doing is correct. And kind of we can get to the idea of just studying in general. Because I think when you're in a downswing, most people say play your way out of a downswing or kind of they have different approaches. But I feel like study, obviously, Phil's biased. He does have run at once, which is a poker training site. Shout out to run at once. And I mean, I advocate people study. I can't say like I feel like a little weird because I can't say I did a lot. I kind of actually maybe I did. Maybe my idea of study was just like consuming myself with watching poker content and reading hands and just taking it as much as I could in as much small time as I could to try to get out of that. That's kind of the approach I always took.
Going back to what I said at the top, people react to downswings differently, and there are some people who just like study only in a downswing, and that's the time they study. And if you have an inclination to do that, take advantage, because downswing can actually become an opportunity to improve your game where you otherwise might not have the motivation. Right. You otherwise might feel like, well, when you feel like you're winning, you just want to put in hands and build your bankroll and things like that. And maybe during a downswing, for a lot of people, I think, either if you want to take a break or if you just want to improve your game, take advantage of that and push yourself to study.
Wow, you bring up a really great point, something I haven't thought about in a couple of years actually, which is that a downswing I found for me was the perfect time to retool my game and because I think sometimes when you're on an upswing, you might be running well, you might be doing things that aren't that good. You never and you don't think about it though, but you're like, man, I'm winning, I don't care what's going on, I'm best. I'm best in the world, I'm great. Yeah. And then you start losing, you're like, man, am I the worst? Like, am I ever gonna win again? But then you start having to actually take a look at your game, and I feel like that's when the most growth has come in my game, is when through those downswings, because you're like, well, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, I'm 3-betting 15%, or I'm keep calling c-bets. I keep calling too many c-bets in 3-bet pots. Like, there are these things you sort of identify, and you're like, okay, let me dial this back a little bit. Let me kind of do that, and that's kind of the biggest thing I found with my downswings. Yeah. It's like a room for a positive. It's a room for growth.
The funny thing too is you can win 5 buy-ins, but be running like 20 buy-ins above EV, and you're not going to look at your game. You're like, I got this.
How crazy is that? How crazy is that? But
like if you're up 10 buy-ins in EV, but you're actually down 10 buy-ins, you're like, okay, I need to work on some stuff. I need to get better.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to find the motivation if you're just not if studying is not part of your habits. It is hard to find the motivation, especially if you're winning.
So what's been yours over the year? What's like you feel like your go-to default thing? Just take those couple days off, or was it like
a couple days usually?
Was it much studying kind of worked in there too, or what was it?
No, my studying, I don't do a lot of studying, and I do it kind of in spurts, and usually it comes from like curiosity about a situation or about an opponent, where I'm like, this guy's doing some weird stuff, and I feel like I could figure out how to take advantage of it, and then I just explore that. But no, downswings for me, it was all about getting out of like the bad mental state. And I think, this is like very basic, but I think one thing to keep in mind is, and like doesn't need to be said but needs to be said, is you're no less likely to run bad after you've been running bad. It's just like,
you sure?
It's just like
positive, okay.
Every flip is still a flip. Yeah. And but it does need to be said, even to people that know that, because it just feels like you're going to. And for some people, all the confidence they need is to remember, hey, tomorrow could go either way. Yeah. It could just as easily go either way.
Yeah, man. This whole downswing stuff, I got so many messages from people out there kind of bringing these things to the table. And I think actually for you, one thing I thought about, which is probably good for you, is that you've always made training videos. Yeah. So you're always explaining your process, and you're getting feedback from people. And if you suck, they're going to let you know. Like, dude, what are you thinking? So I feel like maybe that's helped you out a lot because you're always explaining. It goes back to the idea of talking hands. You're basically your friends were the people watching the videos. Those are the people that you were trying to get better. Okay, I got to understand my thought process. I got to understand what I'm thinking. I got to understand what I'm doing. And I think a lot of people out there just have no fucking idea. Even me, sometimes I might be playing now. I'm like, why would I do that for? You know, I'm like what? Like, but it's just because it's in my mind, and in your mind, it's so.
A lot of people, like you ask them, why did you raise? And you're like, well, I had top pair, and that's what they say. And it's really important to know why you're doing what you're doing, and making videos really does help. And it's also, like you said, a way, like I was talking about earlier, you're never going to show somebody what you fold in the small blind. I do. You do.
Yeah, you do. That's true. That's true. You do. That's a good point. I mean, maybe that's been like I would imagine maybe that's a big reason why you've been able to have consistent success forever, basically. I mean,
I think people, most people think that, sharing your strategy in training videos is going to be detrimental to your win rate because people are going to figure out how you play, or you're going to make people better. And I think it is, probably slightly bad, but not as bad as people think because of what you're saying.
It's a great point.
I learn while making videos. I learn when I get challenged, when I make a play, and they're like, two people are like, I don't understand, like, here's an equity sim. I think you're probably not supposed to do this. And I either realize that I'm right and I realize more why, or I realize that I'm wrong and I've improved my game.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm trying to keep these videos under 15 minutes, guys, but this is something I really want to talk about, Downswings, because I know everyone out there goes through this. I mean, we go through this like in micro moments where we're winning, but then we lose 5 buy-ins and we falter. Don't be hard on yourself, I think, because I know I'm super hard on myself, so I know Phil is too. So like we kind of say this and we get it. Like, you're gonna be hard on yourself. You're gonna question if you can win again. You're gonna question these kind of things. But you gotta remember. But you guys gotta remember, if you're winning players, you're a winning player. You can check the receipts. You check your bank account. So you should have that confidence to go off of. Because I've actually, dude, the people that are the biggest like their confidence is shaken are the winning players.
Yeah.
Like I've worked with these guys are great players, but just like they can't handle losing and they freak out. I'm like, dude, you've been winning for 3 years. Your graph doesn't go, bro. Like, what do you? And I'm thinking of one specific person who watched this is going to know who it is, but that I work with. It's just
here's the thing, because especially when you're a professional, and let's say that you're cruising, you're whatever it is, you're making $500 a day playing poker, and you just are like thinking ahead, like, I'm going to have this much money in 1 month, and then in 3 months I'm going to have this much.
I see.
Then when you go on a downswing, it's not only, I lost 10K, it's I lost all that future earnings. Like, what if I can't win again?
Yeah,
what if all those, like, all that future money that I was already spending in my head, what if, like, now it's never going to happen? And so it is about more than just what you lost.
Yeah.
It's scary. It can be, and
it's scary for sure.
And people, I think, again, like, being self-aware is really important. Like, if you're somebody who gets really angry when you downswing and it makes you play like really poorly, that's somebody that shouldn't play through their downswing. But maybe you're somebody who, can still play the same. You're a little sad, but you do feel like very good about how you're playing, and maybe you're not going to be motivated to study and stuff in your downswing, and you'll actually be motivated in an upswing. So you should play through, or whatever it is. People are different in the way they handle it, and kind of learning. One thing that I learned a long time ago, and I started out like learning from like Sklansky books. And
shout out to David
Sklansky, and
he's
very he teaches you to think very logically, and just like pure logic, and to kind of like think about the game logically, like push your emotions out. Like I don't think he explicitly says that, but like and even on like 2+2 back then, that was kind of like, that was how you should be. You shouldn't be.
Mason Mammoth talks about things like that. Yeah.
And the reality is, when you try to pretend that you don't have emotions, or just like kind of like push them down, you end up just not addressing things that happen. And what works better for me is I actually I figure out what makes me feel certain ways, what makes me do certain things, and I kind of like trick myself or use those to my advantage. Figure out how to use them to my advantage.
Right. You turn your negatives into strengths.
Yeah.
Negatives into positives.
Or even just to reduce negatives. Like a long time ago, I learned that I'm pretty happy making a call down. It doesn't like scare me to make a call down. If I make a call down and I'm wrong, I don't feel sad. But if I make a huge bluff and I lose, like, it hurts me. Like, I learned that a long time ago. And some people are completely opposite, but I learned anytime I was like thinking about making a bluff and I didn't want to, I had to say, okay, do you not want to make a bluff because of how you feel? or is this not a good bluff? And I would push myself to bluff more than I felt like I should because I knew that I wasn't bluffing enough because of my emotions.
Do you think that, what did that end up doing in the long run, do you think?
Which made me like...
a psychopath?
Nothing to do with downswings, but...
A psychopath? Have you seen the bluffs earlier today? I mean, this guy loves bluffing.
But no, it made me bluff enough. And but yeah, working with like just identifying how things make you feel and what things make you do, and just working with them. Not necessarily like you should try to improve yourself, but you shouldn't try to you shouldn't expect to just change yourself completely.
Yeah. Well, guys, we were trying to keep this under 15 minutes, but now we're at 20. But yeah, let us know what you think, man. What's your way out of downswing? Some everybody's different, so give me your feedback. If something in here was helpful for you, let us know what you like. Let us know what you connect with or what's most helpful for you. And yeah, if you're looking for poker friends, get in the comments below. Hit us up on Twitter, like say, hey, I'm trying to meet someone. Put me in touch with somebody out there, and I'll try to my best to get you in touch with someone out there. And thanks to Phil.
Yeah.
For coming on here. We were getting done with our video. We just recorded a set of videos for you guys, and I think everybody out there will really enjoy them if you watch them. And if you watch them all, let me know right now. Let me know, because I want to know if you watch them.
And you let me know if they.
And then I'll let Phil know too, or you let Phil know. Whatever, he'll let me know. Okay. So much love, guys. Adios. Peace out. Take care.